Hey, I'm Mike Matthews. I've written books. I've written a lot of articles, recorded podcasts, Legion Athletics, and other things, fitness things. And in this episode, Chase and I talk about quite a few things, but I think some key takeaways that you are going to appreciate are the importance of getting back to fundamentals with your diet and with your training, finding those key levers and those key buttons that you can pull and push that give you most of the results, the Pareto principle, right? The 20% that gives you the 80% in the kitchen and in the gym. And we talk about other interesting things too that I think you're going to enjoy, particularly listeners of Everforward Radio.
Mike, what's up, man?
Hey.
It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I was telling you when I was
Thanks for being so accommodating.
Oh, of course. Opening up on a Sunday, coming into your office, thank you. Yeah. And I was telling you on the Uber ride over, leaving downtown DC, which is where I used to live, and hopping on the highway here, 66, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I always want to call it 64. 66.
You can do 66 or you can do the GW.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I would take GW a lot of times when I would go work in McLean.
Okay.
When I would take 66 to go to Lansdowne.
Right.
I was telling you on the interview for your show that was like the big catalyst moment for me, just getting stuck in traffic, going down that road, found podcasts, boom, now here we are doing this thing.
Yeah.
And just getting all up in my feels, coming over here,
nostalgia.
Man. Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when I was telling you that right around the time when your book came out, it was one of the first ones that I read.
Yeah.
And I literally think it was one of the first maybe like 100.
Yeah, I think
we narrowed down the time.
Yeah. Because it came out in January 2012 and you're like, yeah, that's and I know I sold 20 copies that first month.
I could have been number 20. Who knows, man?
Funny.
Yeah. But welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Mike Matthews, author, supplements owner, Northern Virginia fitness wellness guy. There aren't that many of us here in this area. And that was kind of a reason why when my wife proposed to move to California, I was like, yeah, I kind of feel good. I feel like I've kind of tapped out of this area.
Yeah.
Was doing my own thing, self-employed, podcast, online coaching for about a year or so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people that I didn't get the chance to connect with or...
Probably not many. Like you said, I mean, I haven't come across many.
Yeah, so
a few.
Is environment really, really big for you in terms of your drive, your business, what fulfills you day to day? Or are you kind of just, I know what I'm doing, it doesn't matter where I am?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I could be in a basement in Iraq and I would just be doing what I'm doing as long as I can work out and work.
Yeah.
So from a business perspective, it doesn't... I'm probably, if I look at it objectively, I'm probably missing out on something in the way of networking, so to speak.
Okay.
By not being around a bunch of other people in the space who are also doing interesting things and building their followings, building their businesses. But the nature of my business is, I guess, I'm able to do well without that, I guess, is how I would put it. Because... a lot of the people who find me and find Legion are finding me through books, through articles, through my own podcasts, through videos. It doesn't matter where you are for that.
Yeah.
And people all around the world find me via that stuff. Where I'd be missing out though is for opportunities like this.
Okay.
There's not much of this around here, but if I were
we can always rely on me to come back here for the cold brew and for you,
now
man.
I know exactly how to.
I'm literally.
You want Compass? Come on.
I'm back here. I joke all the time that I'm in DC more now that I live in LA than when I actually lived in DC.
That's funny.
I still come back here for my barber. I come back here for my cold brew.
For your barber? Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, I got trust issues, man.
You're his best customer then, for sure.
Fly 3,000 miles every 5 to 8 weeks just for a haircut.
Wow. That's funny. I'm the opposite. I just go with her, my wife. She's like, oh yeah, I found somebody good. I'm like, cool.
Happy wife, happy life, for sure, man.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it doesn't really matter. Okay. And for me personally, it doesn't matter much. I spend most of my time working anyway. I'm up early. And I have my little, I wake up and I read. I have an infrared sauna, so I sit in there for 45 or 60 minutes.
That's been my jam lately.
Nice.
I discovered that a couple months ago. It's like, I call it the Superman booth. You walk in Clark Kent, you walk out Superman. It's amazing, man. It's so good.
Yeah. So I do that and I read and I go to the gym and then I'm here. And most days, I'm leaving here fairly late, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Yeah. And then I go home and I'm making food and getting my son to bed and that's it, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, say wash, rinse, repeat,
Yeah, so where I'm living, in that regard doesn't really matter. And outside of that, I have some free time, weekends, do some stuff with my family or whatever. And this is a nice area for that too. DC is a cool city.
Northern Virginia, DC, the DMV area, tons of stuff to do all the time,
Yeah, and it's nice. So I like it here personally. My wife maybe would have wanted to move to LA.
Yeah.
At least, because one, her brother's out there.
Okay, family.
And they're close. And two, we have some other friends out there too. And then 3, she likes to shop.
Yeah.
So LA, New York.
You're in a great shopping area for Northern Virginia, DC area. Like here, great shopping for sure. I mean, Galleria's right over there. They're going to expand so much more. Other than like, City Center maybe in DC.
Yeah.
Can't really beat it.
Yeah. I mean, she does all of her shopping online now, and a lot of the stuff that she likes, you can't get at Galleria. It's not just Gucci or there whatever. She's into it. I couldn't tell you many of the brands, but it's
I need pants, I need shirt. That's all I need.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I like it here. It's a nice area.
I want to go back to actually something you were talking about that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, and that's like the morning routine.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it very interesting. I over the years have kind of fine-tuned and optimized my own, and there's some consistencies for sure, but sometimes it kind of varies depending on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing.
Sure.
Can you take us back and walk us through what is your morning routine and like why you do some of the things you do?
Yeah, mine's pretty simple. It's I wake up at 5:45 or 6 and drink a bunch of water because I'm thirsty, because I'm not drinking much before I go to bed, or I'm going to wake up 4 times having to pee. And I go in the infrared sauna, which is I would say what I've noticed, and this is in line with the research, is less.
Why do you IR? I'm always curious. People, why do
that? It's really just for the one. It's nice. It actually just feels good.
It does.
And especially after waking up, your body temperature is lower, and it just feels nice to sit in there. And then there's good evidence that it reduces inflammation, and I've noticed that in my joints. So I've always had a little bit of crepitus, like crackling in my joints, and I've noticed that
old man knees. I'm getting there too, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've had
years of training.
Even when I was, I remember 25, 26. It was, in reading up on that, there's definitely a genetic component to that, and it's not a problem if there's no pain. Is kind of what it comes down to, right?
Body noises are okay as long as it's not like crippling you.
Yeah. So I've noticed less crepitus since going in the infrared sauna, and I'd say that's the main thing I've noticed. Even though like there is evidence that it may enhance post-workout recovery, it's not clear. It may, and it mostly by just enhancing blood flow. And
huge recirculation.
So there are some basic things where I'm just like, this makes sense. Even if it's not gonna make a huge difference, it's a healthy thing to do. It feels good. And then I read first thing in the morning, because I've found that.
Do you read in the sauna or when you get out?
Yeah. So I've found that if I don't do that and I'm counting on doing it later, it may or may not happen. Right, especially because I'm getting home late and I'm making myself food. My son usually wants food. My wife's putting our daughter to bed. And so by the time all my chores are done,
it's like everybody wants food. Didn't you eat dinner yesterday?
and then sometimes you'll come back down. You want, you know what I mean?
Sounds like me all the time.
I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. And so when all my chores are done, I've taken a shower. I'm it's maybe 9 or 9:30, and I go to bed at 10. So I could spend the remaining 30 or 60 minutes reading. But then I have no time with my wife. I'll never get laid. So
no more kids. If you ever wonder why Mike Matthews never has any more kids, it's because he started reading at night.
Yes, exactly. It's the vasectomy, but
okay, that'll do it too.
Anyway, so that's why I do it first thing in the morning, and I find it's a nice way to start the day. Fresh, have energy.
You time,
yeah, exactly. And I think that reading is a very important activity, and it's helped me in many ways personally and in my business.
What are some things you're currently reading, or do you go back to like staple books and like repeat them, or what?
So I read on a genre rotation.
Okay.
And I'd have to pull it up on my phone, but I don't know the exact order. But it includes stuff. I mostly stick to things that I'm interested in and that have practical value to me. So most of my reading is nonfiction. A lot of it's related to work. So like, one of my little genres is marketing or persuasion, right? So I read a book on that. And then there's business and leadership.
I love how you put persuasion in with marketing.
That's what it is.
It is.
And salesmanship, I put that in there too.
Trust me, I'm lying. Shout out Ryan Holiday.
I didn't read that. But I've read quite a bit.
He's got great books on marketing. Perennial Seller too is another good one.
I read that. I thought it was good. But so there's marketing, persuasion, salesmanship. That's like one genre. Business and leadership is another. Just work and success, just general work, success related stuff is another. Art and creativity is another. History and biographies is another. And then I have like a miscellaneous. Financials in there as well.
Okay.
And then I have kind of a miscellaneous if there's random stuff. So I just read 1 or 2 books per genre, and then just go on to the next.
That's cool. You've got like blocks, like categories of things that interest you, and then you kind of just go in. And do you find that each one basically they're little components to like the bigger picture
Yep.
of you that you're trying to build. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
So it's what am I trying to do with myself and just in my life. And I think there's relationships in there too.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to remember, but I have a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and so I keep
Happy wife, happy life, like we said, man.
it's
Absolutely.
true.
And the relationship with yourself too. Absolutely.
Yep. And so I find that it just makes sense to me to
Sure.
do that. So if I'm saying, okay, over the next, I'd say I'd look out maybe as far as 10 years. Beyond that, it gets very hazy. 10 years is even pretty hazy. I think 5 years is a bit more clear to me in terms of
Like future planning.
yeah,
Okay.
in terms of like higher probability of being able to
Right.
to
Like
to
what's
make that
realistic?
happen.
What's actually going to happen here?
Well, and there's also plans can change based on what happens.
Yeah.
So I could say, oh, here are some things that would be cool if they existed in the next 10 years, but at year 5, then things could change dramatically for good reasons, bad reasons. It doesn't,
The rest of the world's changing too. I mean, you got a
Exactly.
lot of new external variables kind of coming in probably.
True.
Yeah.
So I like to look at over the next year, and then you can get very specific in terms of this is how I do it, of what I want personally, what I want in my businesses.
Yeah.
To some degree with my family, although that seems to be right now. Most of my time goes into my work. When I'm not working, I'm just with my family. I don't have much of a social life,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. Maybe in the future I'll want to change that, but
I don't have time for friends right now.
honestly, yeah.
I feel you, man.
I do something here and there. We'll meet up. Like yesterday, we had a couple friends over for a brunch, and so we'll do those kinds of things. But I'm not like on the weeknights. I'm never leaving the office and hanging out or something.
I've had this conversation with my wife a couple of times, and part of it we know it's just because we picked up our entire lives and moved from one coast to another. We're both from Virginia. We lived in D.C. for years. Our families are here. Our friends, our support systems are here. We've got some relations and stuff, out there, but we've been out there for about a year and a half now. And sometimes you meet people, then a couple times, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Are we becoming friends? Like, do I have time for new friends right now? This is like making friendships as an adult is it's a cautious thing, for like time, for investment. You find
Also, who are these people? And are these?
Yeah.
It's cliche, but I think it's true that you become the average of the five
people.
you spend.
Yeah.
I think there's truth in that.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware of who you are spending time with
Yeah.
in that regard as well.
Who would be the average, or what is the average of you right now? The 5 people in your life. You got your 2 kids, your wife. So we got 3 taken care of right there. What are the other 2 factors?
And the guy, I guess the guy's here really outside of that.
The first 2 people in the door of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 2 people, the few people in here I interact the most with.
Yeah.
I interact with everybody, but a few people I work more closely with, like on content, for example.
Okay, cool.
You know what I mean? And that's also the guy I work out with. So I guess he would be by default, we work out together.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
So over the years, you have done a lot. You've written books, you've created content, you've podcasted, and probably a lot of things that I don't even know about. What has been the number one contributing factor, do you think, to your success right now? And success meaning, having a headquarters, being financially stable, being happy in your business, in your personal life. You define success however you want. What was like the one thing, do you think, that was just like, yep, this is my fulfillment. This is what I need to keep doing, and this is what is feeding my family, feeding the business, everything long term?
I would say books.
Yeah.
I started with books. So I started with Bigger, Leaner, Stronger back in 2012. No master plan. I just wrote it. Kind of a nice.
Why did you write it?
Because I liked writing, and I've always liked books. And
Were you writing before, like
so before
articles, blogs, whatever?
No, in my previous life, I was creating employee training programs for companies, and particularly healthcare companies.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
Yeah,
like SOPs, standard operating procedures, things like that.
Yeah, capturing best practices for
Okay.
different positions in working with dentists and physical therapists and doctors and stuff, because they come out of school knowing how to work on people's teeth or work on people's bodies, but they have no idea how to run a business most of the time because they're not taught that in school. Yeah. And so then a lot of these men and women do the best they can, but often have very dysfunctional offices. Like even their front desk person who's like the first impression. They're the ones answering the phones and greeting people who come in.
I joke. I said that sounds awful because I've been there. The last real job that I had once I got promoted, that was a big kind of disconnect we noticed in our department. You know, I ran the wellness department, and there was a lack of communication, a lack of kind of like vibing with the medical side. And it came down to I had to completely write this SOP, this manual, this procedure.
Yeah.
And I was just getting like PTSD flashbacks. And
That's funny.
It's,
I mean, for me, it's not that I was tremendously interested in the mechanical workings of office jobs, but I've always been a pretty good student. I've always liked learning things, and I've always liked solving problems. And so that element of that work was still interesting to me.
Okay. Yeah.
It was taking something, also just kind of that process of creating something from nothing. So there's nothing there right now.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And by going through this process and interviewing people who are good at the job and figuring out like, okay, what are out of all the information that they gave me, what's the key information?
Sure.
Because sometimes they don't even know exactly why they do
as
well as they do. They'll just kind of download all the information, and then it's up to you to figure out what is crucial here, what is not, and then how do I teach that to somebody who just walked in the door and they don't know anything.
How do you effectively communicate that to other people?
And how do you transfer that knowledge?
Yeah.
And so that process has always been interesting to me.
Okay.
And so the work was fulfilling in that regard. Yeah. And I wrote Bigger, Leaner, Stronger really just randomly. I mean, I'd heard about at the time Amazon's self-publishing platform, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, or whatever it stands for, they had a whole press campaign going because there was a guy named John Locke who was the first person on their platform to sell 1 million books.
That's right. Yeah, you brought that up. We were talking last time. I remember that. Yeah.
So Amazon, and he had a cool story. He made a bunch of money in insurance, and then was finally done with that. Yeah. And this is kind of what he had been wanting to do for a while. And so he just started writing stories.
So he proved the model.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I heard that story and thought that was cool, and that gave me the idea. Why don't I just write not just a training, but why don't I write a fitness book that is the book I wished someone would have just given me back when I was 17 or 18.
So you literally did for yourself and for this new demographic what you were already doing for this other company. It was like, how do we take these lessons, how do we take these strategies and things and actually put it into a manual?
Yep.
That's amazing.
What's to be cliche? What's the 20% that's going to give you 80%?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that's why I wrote
amazing.
it. Yeah, that's why I wrote it. And initially, again, I had no master plan. Yeah. I was just some dude who wrote a book. Really, that's it. And it sold like 20 copies in the first month, and I was excited. I was happy. I was like, I didn't even know if it was going to sell one.
You just like hit go, and Amazon's just like, all right, we'll see what happens.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And so from there, by the end of 2012, it was selling several thousand copies per month. And I don't remember the exact sequence of when I published. I had published one or two other shorter books, kind of just trial balloons. Mm-hmm. So let's try this, let's try that. Yeah. Ended up publishing a book for women because I was getting a lot of women reading the men's book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they were asking, can I do this? Is this for me? And I had like a copy paste email reply that explained this is what applies one-to-one.
Right, yeah.
And here's where I would make some changes, so it just became clear that I need to take this book and tailor it to women.
There's a need, there's a want.
Exactly. Absolutely. And then did a cookbook along the way. That was another big hit. Yeah. And so books was the beginning. Yeah. And it grew fairly quickly. Once it had the kind of an exponential growth curve. It was like slow, and then it really started to pick up. And I mean, now I've sold over 1.5 million books.
That's huge, man. Congrats again. Yeah, that's amazing.
And that then, of course, there's not only has that brought a lot of people into my orbit from the beginning, it also has brought a lot of very high caliber people. And that's
what do you mean by that?
That's something that a lot of people I've spoken to about books. It doesn't immediately register as most people, statistically speaking, do not read. Right, the average American reads one book a year.
Really?
Yes,
we got to fix that, people. Come on,
that's a real stat.
Man.
That's a real stat. Wow. Now that's an average too, and remember,
average
is. I mean, but what that means is
average, the far ends.
But you have people who read a lot, really, right? And they're the ones driving. The extremes drive averages up.
Exactly.
So even with that, with people who read quite a bit, the average is still just one.
That's not pulling it enough. Yeah.
So what you have is a lot of zeros, and then
no one in my audience for sure. Come on.
Mine either, of course. We found all the unicorns, and so I don't mean that as just putting people down. That's just a fact, right? Yeah. And so most people either can't get through books or are not interested in books. And so it's rare to find someone who can read a 300 or 400 page book, which is where my books are at now. And they're not going to get any longer. I've promised people that. Like,
you kind of found like the happy cutoff for your audience.
I think so. I think that the books now, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, than Thinner, Leaner, Stronger for women, are very comprehensive, but not overly so.
It's everything you need, nothing you don't.
Exactly. And yes, it is a thicker book, but for the average person who just wants to get into really good shape, they don't want to become a bodybuilder,
right?
And they don't necessarily even want to try to achieve every ounce of strength and muscle available to them genetically. They just want to be very fit.
They just know they want more.
They don't need anything else. Like, that's it. It's all in those books, right? So to have somebody who reads the book, that's already rare, right? I mean, that's already it is just a above average in terms of you can look at it different ways. Let's minimally say interest in bettering themselves, right?
Yeah, really.
And then somebody who reads a book and applies the information. I mean, that truly is an outlier. Unicorn. That truly is an outlier as far as a person goes, right? And so by having popular books, I'm pre-selecting for those people, and many of those people are also very educated people. Are people who do well financially in their career. So these are also people with an outsized amount of influence in their own personal sphere. These are people, who, again, take somebody. I have a lot of people who have master's degrees and above. So take someone in that position who, let's say, also is a successful entrepreneur. Well, that person can have a very large sphere of influence. They might have 20 or 30 people who see that they've improved their physique and ask them, how did you do that? Yeah. And whatever they say, they're going to do.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So books have contributed in I would say it would seem in a disproportionate way to my success, but I'm not surprised that it went that way.
Yeah.
And so taking that all the way to today, that's why I still put a lot of time. I mean, I'm working on 2 books right now.
Yeah.
Wrapping up a second edition of a book called Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, which is a follow-up to Bigger, Leaner, Stronger.
Oh, great. Yeah, can't wait to get that one, man.
And when I have the manuscript ready, I'll send it to you.
That's awesome.
I think you'll like it. It's for intermediate and advanced weightlifters, and I'm super happy with how it's coming together. I think really it's my best work yet.
Really?
I think so. I mean,
that's awesome,
I'm very happy with it personally, and I think that there's no other book out there like it. Really, there's not for the intermediate weightlifter, and this is who's stuck. That's what it comes down to, right? Because you start out, and if you have anything halfway decent, it's great for the first year or so.
All those great newbie gains, man.
Yep. You just show up. You just keep putting in the work. That's
the best part of beginning training.
Yep. And you keep on adding reps, and you keep on adding weight to the bar, and you're like, this is easy. You're probably not even paying that much attention to your diet. You know about energy balance. You know about macronutrient balance. You know the basics, but you realize quickly that you don't have to be weighing every meal. It just doesn't matter that much.
When you do just even a little bit from nothing, the growth is amazing.
Yep. Yeah. But then eventually that stops working, and everything slows down, or maybe just grinds to a halt. And then you get into a similar situation where you were at in the beginning, where then you start trying all kinds of weird shit. Because you just don't know what to do. Yeah. Right?
What I did isn't working anymore. So clearly it doesn't work at all.
Maybe I need intermittent fasting now, or maybe I need...
Let me go keto. Let me do powerlifting. Let me do carnivore. Let me do all this stuff. Yeah.
Or let me try to incorporate a bunch of advanced training techniques.
Which I'm all for. I'll say, I tell people all the time, be a study of one. Sure. I mean, the body will change and evolve over time depending upon what you do. Yep. I mean, stimulus response. Adaptation is just a natural occurrence. Always stay a study of one. N equals 1 with you. So, I mean, I'm not knocking anything I was just saying, but just, be mindful of what you did, how it worked and why. And then if you want to add in other variables, just pay attention to what you're adding or subtracting and just see what, if anything, changes.
I agree. I would say, though, go about it. Add things that are likely to make a difference.
Right.
And that's where it's the next level of education that needs to occur. Again, you don't need to know anything beyond the fundamentals in the beginning of, if we're talking about on the dietary side, it's energy balance, macronutrient balance, the importance of eating nutritious foods as well. And knowing that that's really it. I mean, meal timing up to you doesn't really matter. Probably makes sense to have some protein before and maybe after your workouts, depending on how you're eating in general. do I skip breakfast, intermittent fasting or not? It doesn't matter. Like most of everything else just doesn't matter. And so that'll get you if you're a guy. Well, let's talk about training. Training would be progressive overload, volume, frequency.
All the fundamentals of training we
compound
know
exercises.
Got to do.
That's really it. Like that's all you really need to know, and you don't even need to know that much about progressive overload, volume, or frequency. Just really the basics, and so that'll get you if you're a guy. That'll get you your first, let's say, 30 pounds of muscle, and the proportionate amount of strength that comes with that. And if you are a woman, about probably half that or so. Like that's all you need to get there. But if you get there, you're going to find that what you've been doing is no longer producing any results. And
nowhere near the same results for damn sure.
Eventually it just doesn't. Eventually it just comes to a halt. And I tell people that, even with my own programs, I tell people, like, just letting you know, this is going to work until it doesn't.
There will come a time when this doesn't do anything.
There'll come a time when this becomes a maintenance program.
Exactly. It's still good for you. I mean, you're still moving. You're still being healthy. Absolutely. But
if you're trying to get bigger and you're trying to get stronger, and then you're going to have to take it a bit further. And so, what do you do, right? And so what many people do, and I know I've been there myself, is they go off into a lot of these again, they're sold as like sophisticated or advanced dietary, trendy or
sometimes,
whatever, right? Dietary strategies or training strategies. And this is the argument that I'm making in this new book that I'm wrapping up, and I cite a lot of research to back it up, and have quotes from other experts and guys like Eric Helms, and
got clinical, got anecdotal,
got stuff from Greg Nuckols, and
awesome.
But is that you really actually just need to double down on the fundamentals. That's really the key.
What do you mean by that?
So specifically, the importance of volume. Take that and that's something that more and more research is indicating. That is one of the key levers that you need to pull to continue getting bigger and stronger.
Are you saying volume by amount of reps in one workout or frequency?
I like to look at it in terms of, and I'll give Greg Nuckols credit for this, and he makes good arguments for this, and I think it works, and it's becoming kind of a standard also, even in new research that's coming out, and that's hard sets, right? So working sets that you take close to technical failure. Those are hard sets. So number of hard sets per major muscle group per week, looking at volume in that perspective, right? So take bigger, leaner, stronger. If we look at it, how much volume is it? It's about, let's say, 9 to 12 hard sets per major muscle group per week. That's what it comes down to. And there's some people, they like to separate direct volume and indirect volume. So take a barbell row.
Right.
Okay, direct volume for your back, indirect volume for your biceps. And some people will weight
primary muscle groups, secondary muscle groups.
Exactly. Some people will weight it a little bit differently. They'll say, "Oh, okay. Well, I did 9 sets of rows for my back. I'm going to count that as 4 or 5 sets for my biceps." And I think that's okay. It's fine. I personally just count it 1-to-1. I don't think it's necessary.
It depends on the goal. Are you trying to train your biceps? Are you trying to grow that? Or are you trying to train the back? I mean, it's just depending on which goal you have, it's going to hold more or less weight, right?
And what's working, right?
Exactly.
So if you do that, right? Let's say your biceps are stagnant at this point, right? On a program like Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. So you're doing 9 to 12 sets per major muscle group per week, and there's a lot of evidence to show that that's a great place for people who are new to proper weightlifting.
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to do more. You can do more, you can recover from more, but you are not likely to get much more out of it, right? So unless you like just sitting in the gym if you really like working out, then I guess you can do more.
Maybe.
But
I've seen a few of those people at the gym, like, you're still here?
But for most people, it's the other way around.
Exactly.
Like, they're trying to fit this in, right? And so the minimal effective dose sounds like a good idea to them. And so with that program, though, there is a point where that's just not enough volume. It doesn't matter how now, if you don't change the volume, it doesn't matter what you do in terms of changing your training techniques, your rep schemes, your frequency, your periodization. You're just going to have to work harder. That's absolutely.
So am I understanding you correctly in saying that it's basically just the total amount of reps in this muscle group that you're trying to target for whatever your goal is of getting bigger, stronger, whatever it is, is it total amount of reps within a certain period?
It's not even reps. And again, this could be a whole discussion in and of itself. And there are different schools of thought on this.
Yeah.
I have my opinion. But it's not even the number of reps; it's the number of hard sets, because quite a bit of research has shown that a set of 6 reps taken close to technical failure, where your form starts breaking down and your technique kind of falls apart. As long as you're pushing hard, a set of 6 reps is going to be just as conducive to muscle growth as a set of 12 reps. But a set of 12 reps is not going to be more. You did more reps, but you're not going to gain more muscle from that set per se, even though you did double the reps. So it's more the did you take the set close to technical failure.
Did you do a bullshit set or not?
Yeah.
Are you literally just going through the motion, or actually doing complete full reps?
Exactly, in full sets.
Okay. Excuse me.
Where you go, all right, I could probably do one more rep and then my form is busted. Like, are you getting to that point? Right.
Gotcha.
And I would say then, if we want to add a side note to that, is with 1 rep max is in the range of the weight, the load in the range of 70 to 85% of 1RM. Things seem to change a little bit. Like if all you did was singles and doubles, you will probably maybe put in some triples. If that's it, then you probably actually could gain muscle a little bit faster if you did more reps in your sets.
Sure, yeah.
But very few people are doing that. For what most people are doing in the gym, it's not so much of how many reps did you do in the set, it's how close to failure did you come.
Okay.
And so what that is, then what I'm saying, and what I explain in this new book is, okay, so you're doing 10 to 12 hard sets. I don't care about what rep ranges you're working in, but hard sets, so long as you're working with weights in the range of 70 to 85% of 1 rep max. If you're doing 9 to 12 per major muscle group per week and you're stuck, it's time to increase volume. That's the most important thing you need to do.
So volume is the next thing to move the needle.
Yep. Okay. And so to be specific, in Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, in the program that I've been on now for 5 months or so myself, and I have a couple guys in the office, we're all doing it together, a couple other people, just because I want to make sure I have plenty of personal experience with it before I roll it out. You know what I mean?
Which that's awesome. Thanks for thanks for testing your own shit, man.
Yeah, you have to because no matter how theoretically sound something is, and no matter how detail oriented you are in your planning, when you really get into it, you just start noticing little things. Even if it's like that certain exercises done back to back are not, it looks okay on paper, when you go and do it,
you get that biofeedback. Yeah,
you're just like, no, actually I don't like that. I would change that. Anyway, so the major difference between the intermediate and advanced program and the beginner program is that now you're doing upward of, let's say on average, about 15 hard sets per major muscle group per week. And there is some periodization. It's periodized a little bit differently. And there are a couple other moving parts, but that's really the main difference. Is you just work harder now.
It's just going back to fundamentals, really.
Yes, you just have to work harder now.
Who'd have thought, right?
And what's great about that, though, is it's simple. It's in line with research. It's in line with what we know about the mechanics of muscle growth, and it works consistently. Like there are different individual responses to volume. Some people, and just training in general. But you can take to the bank that if you take whatever volume you're doing right now, and I'm assuming that you have some other things set up correctly in your training, but so long as your training is pretty well programmed and what you're doing mostly makes sense. If the volume you're doing right now is not producing results, chances are you could just increase that, and that will start producing results. So
I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to that when the book comes out.
Hopefully,
I'm gonna be able to double dip in application.
I've done a decent job explaining.
No, I mean what you're talking about. Really, it's not rocket science. It's not to like downplay your experience or expertise in any way, but it's just like that's such a great point. I think when it comes to training and fitness, is that it doesn't need to be this crazy, super wild, elaborate algorithm for success. It's just go in with a plan. Go in listening to your body, consistency, volume, reps, frequency. These are the things that we know just yield results. And when they stop yielding results, well, just go back and pay attention. Hey, are you doing complete hard sets, complete full reps? All these things where maybe as we go through fitness, as we go through our journey. Are you training hard
enough? A lot of people you see in the gym, they're not
just
even
bullshitting.
They might have a great program on paper, but they just don't train very hard. You can see they're just not working very hard. They're not coming close to technical failure in most of their sets, and they rest way too long in between sets, and so.
I'd be curious to see. I wonder if there was ever a study done, or maybe there's one going on now. Ever since like the spike or the popularity of like social media or scrolling through Instagram. I wonder if that, like, let's look at your own personal journey, right? Like, ever since let's say maybe was on Instagram, or took it more seriously other than putting a filter up on what I was eating for lunch, has that correlated, does it have correlation or causation to, like, me slacking off in the gym? Because let's be honest, I think most people, when you're not going fully committed in your training in the gym, it's what are we doing? We're in between looking at our phone.
Yeah.
And we got shit to do now. We got businesses to run, we got email to check, we got things, DMs to check, or we're just mindlessly scrolling. I'm wondering if, like, since the rise of Instagram, has all of our physique suffered, has strength gone down, and it's all because of damn social media.
I would say, there might be some of that effect. Probably it's been mostly a net positive in that regard.
Hopefully, yeah.
Just because of the peer pressure.
Yeah. Like, oh shit. Like, John got jacked. I got to go back and do another rep.
Yeah. Or if you're going to post stuff, it needs to be outstanding, or it's not even worth posting.
You actually put up a post I think it was like yesterday or the other day. Yeah. Someone asked you in your audience or something, hey, are you ever going to get back to just being super shredded? And,
it was when are you going to get ripped again?
Exactly. Yeah. So the great question right there. I'm not going to ask you when you get ripped again, but
you can ask.
When are you going to get ripped again? No, I'm just kidding.
Never.
When you go through this journey, and especially when you publicize it, when you write books, when you put up videos, when you put up content, people kind of get to know you as this type of person, right? Yeah. And I think we even get to know ourselves as this type of person. Whatever the format is, the style that gets us into training first, right? I'm a swimmer. I'm a power lifter. There we go. Wow, use your words, Chase.
I thought you were going to say power builder.
Power builder, which is kind of like a little hybrid bodybuilding. Yeah. We kind of latch on a sense of identity to the thing that got us so excited, that yielded results. Yeah. But then over time, I can tell you over the years, I've done bodybuilding, not like professionally, but the style of training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, a little bit of some HIIT. I did CrossFit for like a day, abort. And then, heavy into like yoga and low intensity things like that. And honestly, my phase of life right now, maybe just because, I'm 34 and just, life is taking over, I'm just in it for, I don't want to die. I want to like look good, feel good. I want to know that I'm putting in the work every day and earning my meals and earning that longevity. Is that kind of where you are now? Like what kind of like identity did you have versus what do you have now? Like when someone asks that question, is it like, fuck you, like I'm just living my life kind of thing? Or is it like, God, now I have to live up to this thing that I started?
Yeah, it's a good question. To answer the first question, I would say that so let's see, if I look back to when I was training my hardest, and that's also when I dieted down to my leanest and got pictures at the beach and whatever, right?
Shredded, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally. Maybe it was 5 years ago or something like that, 5 or 6 years ago. I would say that there's not that much that has changed my mentality, although now I'm more aware. So I've had some biceps tendonitis. That was new.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you on that, man, yeah.
I had, I wouldn't call it, I guess it wasn't much of an injury, but I pissed off my SI joint deadlifting.
Pissed off, I like that.
Yeah,
we pissed off all of our joints. Yeah,
so I've experienced it for real, a few years ago. And it would come and go until I addressed some imbalances in my hips. But since then, I haven't had it, which is nice. But my point is, I'm aware that my recovery is not, it's still good, but it's not as good as when.
Meaning what specifically?
I was
like it takes you longer to recover?
Yeah, from particularly from just higher volume, like intense training. Yeah. Where now I just feel the wear and tear a little bit more in my body. And my training now is probably comparable to back this period when I'm thinking.
Oh, cool.
But at that time, I was also doing some singles and doubles and heavy triples. So I was doing a bit more of that on top of the higher volume. Okay. And I didn't have anything that really bothered me back then. I didn't have any concerns.
Young and carefree, man.
You know what I mean? I just load up the bar and give it everything I had. And so now I'm a little bit more conscientious about recovery and just making sure that I want to keep progressing, and I want to get back. I'm close to some of the strength numbers that I had then. I'm getting close there, but I'm okay taking a little bit slower and being aware of that being hurt sucks. I actually have experienced that, you know what I mean? And so if something like, again, just recently, my biceps tendonitis thing was coming back a little bit, and I was like, I know what this. I already know how this goes. So get off.
I'm listening, buddy. I'm listening. Yeah.
Get off the bench press for I think about 6 or 8 weeks. No flat benching. I could incline bench, no problem. I could do some dumbbell stuff, no problem. But get off the flat. And then get one of these massage guns, because I know previously working with a physical therapist that the problems were in my rotator cuff muscles, so subscap, and I don't know if it was teres minor or infraspinatus, but there were a couple rotator cuff
You're
muscles.
Describing my exact dilemma a couple months ago.
A lot of weightlifters
I tore
have
mine.
been.
It's from bicep tendonitis and some pec minor shit. Tore my rotator cuff AC joint sprain from squatting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was coming up out of the hole and pop.
Yeah, so that's what I'm.
We don't want that anymore.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So back off, and found that just get one of those massage guns. Get one of my guys who works with me here.
Yeah.
We just hit a couple points every day, and icing helped as well.
Did we get like manual therapy on it?
Yep.
Like deep tissue myofascial release stuff.
Yep. That's what I did the first time around, and so the second time around, I've also worked with a Rolfer. So now I have this little routine where I see him, and smart dude, very very. He's multidisciplinary, not just a Rolfer.
Right,
he's really educated himself. He's been doing it for, 30 or 40 years.
There's a great company up here I would recommend called Arosti.
Okay.
AIRROSTI.
Okay.
They get in and work shit out, like cured me of stuff before, man.
Nice.
And they're up here. They're great. Yeah.
Nice. So it's been good to see someone who can point out, okay, this is what needs to get worked on.
Yeah.
And then I can do it here, because it gets a bit impractical. He's out in Alexandria, and if you're really there needs to be some frequency of treatment.
Exactly.
Seeing once every couple of weeks, seeing once every 2 or 3 weeks, that's not enough to.
And then it's up to you to maintain in between.
Exactly. So that's been a workable thing where I see him every few weeks, and he kind of just checks out where things are at.
Yeah.
And then if something needs to get worked on, I have one of my guys here. He can just gun me. It's like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And that's helped a lot.
Has like the injury and like injury prevention and recovery stuff, is that kind of like you think molded where your training and stuff is now? Like to kind of go back to that, are you ever going to get shredded again thing?
I was going to get to that. So that I would say no. I don't think there's really any correlation other than, and this is something I explained in this post. That's where I'm at with my training. Right? I'd say it's more or less similar. I'm still training pretty hard, but I'm more aware of. Can my body take this? Yeah. Like in even an individual exercise, like I have heavy flat bench program today. Is that a good idea, or should I take some weight off and get on the incline? Yeah. And I'll make the word in the past. I'd be like, I don't give a shit. That's what's in it. I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
And that just comes with time. Absolutely. Exactly. Talking about the newbie gains in the beginning, like you can just power through a lot of shit.
Yep.
But now, like you get the expertise, you get the wisdom of what your body needs and wants, and what it doesn't.
Yeah, and the importance of avoiding injury.
Yeah.
And playing the long game. And then so to when you get ripped again. So if anybody wants some context, because you can't tell, we're sitting here, right? But go to my Instagram at Muscle Life Fitness and just find this. What's the date today? Like the 4th or 5th or something of February.
Today's the 9th.
9th.
Yeah. Fast forward a little bit.
too complicaed for me.
You're living in the past, Mike.
So I guess, exactly. I probably posted on the 4th or 5th. That's what it is. Yeah. Anyways, sometime in the last few days, find the post, and so you can see like that's the shape I'm in right now. That was that day, right? And so what I was saying is, I find that pretty ironic, right? When people are asking, because
so what are you saying? Am I fat right now, or like am I not like lean, or like
And, but to that point, like I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 9-ish% body fat, maybe 10. In absolute terms, I'm probably like 6-ish pounds of fat away from the leanest I've ever been. Right.
Yeah.
And so, okay, what is that? That's 5 or 6 weeks of dieting. Ooh, you know what I mean? And also,
I know I can attain it.
Of course.
Exactly.
And so this is a look also that I like, and it's maintainable. Whereas the super shredded look is not.
Yeah.
Unless you're on drugs, you are not going to be able to stay. If you're a guy, you're not going to be able to stay 5-6% body fat year round and feel good and have energy and have a sex drive and have good workouts and not feel hungry all the time and catch yourself daydreaming about desserts and shit. It's not
literal pie in the sky.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so anybody who says, any guy who says that who clearly does that, or look at their Instagram, and they say that they don't have any of those side effects, he's either on drugs or he's lying. He's probably lying. If he's on drugs, he's lying, well, certainly. Or he's lying, and he actually feels terrible all the time. But he, wants people to think that he has it all figured out. He has the secret sauce. Just give him $97.97 every month, and he'll tell you the secrets, right?
He's on some kind of sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
May not be the secret.
Yeah, that is the secret, the actual secret sauce. So that's why I don't take personal offense when I don't get asked it much, but what inspired that post was it was a YouTube comment, somebody asking that, and I think they were genuinely asking, and I do genuinely get people asking that now and then, because they'll compare where I'm at. Again, go to my Instagram and look where I'm at. And then if you go to legionathletics.com, you'll find a picture somewhere around there. If you go to the About Me page or something, of some from these beach photo shoot pictures a few years ago. And I'm leaner in those pictures, and I have like a pump and everything. I don't have a pump in Instagram. It literally is this bathroom over here. You know what I mean? Just take my shirt off. And I was more tan, blah blah blah.
Sure. Lighting and tan. It all helps.
But I was a bit leaner. Yeah. And so I just wanted to give people some perspective on the standards also, that especially the Instagram standards are so ridiculous because of how many people are lying about. I mean, you can stay lean if you're willing to be miserable and you're not on drugs. Sure, you can stay super shredded.
It is doable.
Absolutely. And it's not healthy and you're not going to feel good, but you can do it. And if you're on drugs, it's not healthy and you're not going to feel the side effects, but you're going to have worse, like you're just accumulating bigger penalties. That
your actual health is going to suffer.
Eventually, yes. Physique, you're going to have bigger problems.
Exactly, yeah.
But because there's just so much of that on Instagram, and those are the types of guys, and there's the female equivalent as well.
Sure,
those are the people who get the disproportionate share of attention in the fitness space, which is understandable. I mean, the body composition space is about body composition.
Yeah, the look matches the name, what people think of first.
100%. And so in the body composition game, right? What's the pinnacle? It's how big and lean can you be if you're a guy, and if you're a woman, I guess it's generally how big of a butt can you have and how lean can you be, I guess, right?
How many booty shots can you post?
Absolutely. And so that gets a lot of attention. It gets a lot of people that look to the super shredded guy and go, well, look at him. He clearly knows what he's doing. Yeah. And that would if we were in the golf space, right? Then I understand if you follow someone on Instagram for golf advice, they better be a good golfer, right? Doesn't mean they can teach you anything.
True.
But fitness,
good point,
fitness is particularly dysfunctional in this regard because of steroids. Like in golf, it doesn't matter. Take all the steroids you want. If you suck, you suck. Yeah. And they're not going to help you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if you're good and you take steroids, they're going to make you stronger. Maybe you'll hit the ball a bit farther.
I guess more power behind the swing.
Yeah, but it won't really make that big of a difference in the scheme of things, right? Like how many strokes will it shave off your game? Maybe a couple when you're at that level. You know what I mean? If you can hit all your clubs 10 yards further or something. But steroids in fitness will change everything because they change everything. Yeah. And it really is the hack. Yeah. And it's not something I recommend. I've never done it myself, but because there is so much of that is now seen the physique and the lifestyle also in terms of like shit diet, training like shit. Yeah. But still look awesome. Steroids allows all that to be possible. And so that was more the point of the post, was just I don't care myself, but also for people who are following me, keep that in mind when you look at yourself in the mirror. Don't hold yourself to the standards of a lot of what you see on Instagram. For sure.
Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback off of that, a lot of your work, your future work is going to kind of be an extension of, but a lot of your work, is it fair to say that it's meant for like, hey, these are the people kind of getting started, your introduction to fitness, here's going to be a great game plan for you to just go from nothing to something, right? Yep. And then the next piece of work is going to be, all right, we've got this down pat, we got the habits instilled, we got the physique, we got the whatever, now it's going to be, grow and go from there. Yeah. When people are getting started, let's kind of think the beginner in mind here. When people are getting started, a lot of what we were just talking about, I was mentioning words like identity to a program, to a look, to somebody else, to Becky or John on Instagram, whatever. How would you recommend, or how would you kind of advise someone to get started on their fitness journey for the sake of just bettering themselves and things to be leery of, and things, maybe some tips or tricks to not latch onto an identity being your fitness goal, but rather just like, it's just a damn good thing to do for your body.
Totally. I would say on the dietary side of things, learn about energy balance. And you can learn about that. I mean, if you want to come learn from me, you can learn about it in my podcast. If you search, I have an episode I recorded specifically.
Tons of great content on it. Yeah.
Thanks. And I have an article at Legion Athletics. If you rather read about it, of course, I talk about it in my books. If you want more information, but that's a key thing to understand. Macronutrient balance. So how calories break. Just for anybody listening, so just to make it clear, energy balance is a relationship. I know you know this, but for anybody not familiar with the term, I don't want to leave them just hanging.
We got all kinds of people here. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just the relationship between the amount of energy that you are eating and that you are burning, and it's often expressed in calories. That's how the energy is measured. So that's
well
it,
said.
Right? So understanding how to use that to your advantage. And then macronutrient balance is how those calories break down into macronutrients, which are major nutrients your body needs to survive. Protein, carbohydrate, and fat are the main ones. So now it's understanding that because our goal is not just to gain or lose weight, it is to gain muscle and not fat, or at least as little fat as possible.
Keywords there.
Yep. Yeah. And lose fat and not muscle.
Yeah.
If we want to do that, then we have to go beyond just calories in and calories out. We have to also pay attention to where those calories are coming from. Protein's important. Carbohydrate is less important. Fat less important if we're talking pure body composition. And understanding how to use macronutrients, again, to your advantage, and setting your diet up in a way that not only works, but that you enjoy.
Yeah.
That's very key.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to another, that's my next tip, is don't wed yourself to a specific diet, especially if it has a name. If it has you know what I mean? If it's a a marketing thing, chances are it is.
And if it has a finite start and stop.
There could be that too.
Yeah.
Like a crash diet, like 30-day type thing, or detox cleanse, whatever. But if it has a name, chances are it might work for you, but probably not for the reasons that you're being told. So
well said. Yeah, absolutely.
So take the ketogenic diet, right? Yes, you can lose weight on a ketogenic diet, but it's not because you're cutting out carbs or eating a bunch of fat or because of ketosis or ketones. It's simply because in most people, they go from eating too much food, a bunch of bad food. They get rid of a bunch of the bad food that they tend to overeat, and they replace it with stuff that is much harder to overeat because it's not as tasty. And all of a sudden their calories go way down.
Exactly.
And then oftentimes when people are wanting to make this change, they also start exercising, or they start exercising more. So now the calorie expenditure often goes up, and then you have that deficit there that drives weight loss. And so understanding how those things work is fundamental, and then finding a dietary protocol that works for you, and the key thing is it's sustainable. You should enjoy it, and to put clear, like, qualitative criteria on it, I would say, okay, you're losing weight, that's what you want to do. You should look forward to each meal every day. Like, you shouldn't.
Thank you for saying that. Absolutely, yeah.
Every meal should be something that you like eating. Now, it's not going to be cheeseburgers and ice cream and pizza every meal, but there are plenty of nutritious foods that all of us enjoy.
You shouldn't be building resentment with every meal.
Exactly, or dreading that you have to eat, the boiled chicken breast and the steamed asparagus with plain, you know what I mean, and in your next
every
meal.
Damn meal.
You're
not gonna have a good adherence
6 times a day, and maybe with a bowl of rice and one.
If you're lucky,
that's your post workout. That's your post workout.
That's my treat.
Indulgence. So it needs to be something where every meal you look forward to. Generally speaking, you should not be hungry or have cravings. That you. In the first week or two, you probably will be a little bit hungry, and you might have hunger come and go. But it should not be
because your body's like, what the hell?
If you're eating too little, I mean, it's your body responds to varying levels of starvation with varying degrees of severity, right? And so if you cut your calories way too much, it'll work. You'll lose some weight, but you'll probably also lose muscle. You'll feel terrible, hunger, cravings, low energy, etc. So you should, if you're doing it right, you should not feel hungry much. You should feel pretty good generally. You should be sleeping fairly well. You shouldn't notice any major disruption.
Sleep is king, absolutely. That's one of my biggest biofeedback moments.
Talking about something. There's the biggest biohack out there. Just get enough sleep. Don't try to hack your way out of getting enough sleep. Just get enough sleep.
Sleep.
Just go to bed. Give yourself 8 hours in bed, and that's what most people need, even if you don't sleep all 8 hours. So you should be sleeping fairly well. Your workouts should be going fairly well.
Yeah.
You may notice after a couple months that you're not able to perform quite as well as in the beginning, and that's normal.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be dragging your ass through every workout. And you should be seeing consistent weight loss. Let's say somewhere around a pound per week. Let's just say
very safe. That's like, and I love that you're kind of, a lot of things you're talking about they're fundamentals for a reason.
Yep.
A pound per week, not dreading every meal, noticing changes in the gym, sleep. All of these things are just the absolute fundamentals of what we know it takes and what we should all be going back to if we're, veterans in the game, or we should be focusing on if we're newbies and getting started, because these are things that we know just flat out work.
Totally. And I'll add one thing to that, because it is worth mentioning, because I've been talking about just the quantitative sides of dieting, of calories and macros. And so food quality does matter. Nutrition does matter. It matters, especially when your calories are restricted, because you're now getting fewer nutrients than usual, because you're eating less food than usual. And it also is going to help if you set your diet up correctly. And really what it comes down to is get the majority of your calories from relatively unprocessed foods that you make yourself. Start with a base of 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. That's 3 to 5 of each, not together. 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. Start with a base of that. That's going to give you a certain amount of carbohydrates, and then you can go up from there. And you have lean protein, and you have some healthy fats. You can get from oils. You can get from, I like avocado as a source. Nuts are a good source. So start with your base of nutritious foods in the way of dieting, flexible dieting that I teach. There are no off-limit foods other than if eating a food upsets your stomach, or if you just don't feel good when you eat something, don't eat it. Yeah. And even if it's something quote unquote healthy, there's a reason why you don't feel good
and
when you eat
food
it.
Sensitivity, intolerance, maybe full-blown allergy. Absolutely.
Totally. So make sure that you're eating stuff that sits well with you. Get most of your calories from these relatively unprocessed nutritious foods. And if you want to have some quote unquote junk food, you want to have some sugar, you want to have whatever, just take your remaining calories. Let's say it's 20% of those calories per day and eat whatever you want. So
you can do it, people. You can do it. Absolutely.
And you can do that. That is perfectly healthy and it's perfectly effective. And it just taking that 20% of calories. So let's take an average woman, right?
Sure.
If she's exercising a few hours a week, which we can talk about in a minute, and the basics there of what are the fundamentals, let's say that she's eating 1,500 calories a day, right? Let's say that those are her weight loss calories, because she's burning about 1,800 to 2,000 calories per day. So the difference between there is
we're in that deficit. We're in that slow long-term weight loss.
Exactly. So that means that she gets 300 calories a day for whatever it is that she wants to eat.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've worked and spoken with many women who like chocolate. I like chocolate. I understand.
I love dark chocolate. Yeah.
Same. And good. So if you want to have 300 calories of dark chocolate, that's quite a bit.
It's a good chunk.
That's probably 2 ounces, I would guess. Like,
it's a decent chunk off the bar.
Yeah, totally. Do it every day. Have it. And that alone is often enough to completely handle any cravings that particularly with women. I think there's even research now I'm thinking about it, I've come across that chocolate has some special property in this regard, being extra satisfying to women. I might be off on that, but I think I've come across that in my travels. But I find that I would say anecdotally that seems to be a pretty effective, just satisfied, get a little bit of something
telling
nice.
People, hey, this is what you get to do, instead of that's a big common misconception people have, is like, in order for me to like feel or look the way that I want, I can't do this, can't do that.
It has to be all or nothing.
When you start with what you can do, I mean, that's health behavior change 101.
True. So I'd say those are really the basics of where I would recommend anybody start with on the dietary side of things in getting into the fitness into the fitness habit, because if they do those things, they do them right, they will get results. Yeah. They will feel good, and they will also it'll occur to them that their body composition and their body weight is now under their control.
Yeah, that's huge.
They don't have to ever be fat
again.
Wow,
it's up to me, and I get to decide. And I'm doing all these things. I'm steering the boat.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's something very liberating and empowering about that, and rightfully so, where especially with someone who's struggled with their weight for so long, and they realize this is how easy it actually is. And so now if I'm going to be on vacation for 2 weeks and I don't really want to work out, or I'm going to be eating and drinking and whatever.
Who knows what?
Yeah, and I'm going to come back with a few pounds heavier. I don't care. I don't even have to think about it. It doesn't matter, because I know exactly what to do now to undo that, and so I can completely enjoy myself on my trip and take the holidays. And it's it is a big moment. And I understand
setting people up for success
totally
all day long. Yeah.
Totally. And so then on the training side of things, I would say ideally you would give 3 to 5 hours a week probably to exercise, to training. And there is a difference, I think, between the terms training and exercise. Training implies a goal, it implies a system.
I would agree.
Whereas exercise is fine, but it's a bit more random.
Training's more intentional. Yeah, exercise I'd say a little more random.
Yeah, you're
just
there
movement.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But you can't expect the same results from training and exercise.
True. Yeah.
If you really want to make consistent progress, you need to train. If you want to maintain your health and burn calories and move, then
just
exercise works. And inevitably, you will probably make some forward movement, but it's not going to be as nearly as much, especially as time goes on. So coming at it from that perspective of let's not just go in the gym and do things or just do what we see other people doing.
Yeah, sometimes that's my workouts. On total honesty, it's just like whether it's motivation or time or whatever. Just I know I just need to get in there. I'm going to do some things.
Yep.
And
but at least you know that you're doing some things and you know what to expect. That's a maintenance type of approach to your fitness, and you know that. So which is fine because you're not going to get frustrated if you spend 6 months doing things in the gym and nothing's really changed, but you're at least you know why.
Exactly. You know? It's all up to us whether we move the needle or not. It's all up to us. Yeah.
Totally. And so I would say approaching it from more systematic. Approaching it more systematically from a training perspective is going to be more effective. Put most of that time into training your muscles. So resistance training. I am a big proponent of weightlifting, but machines are fine. Body weight is fine. Bands, TRX, there are many ways you can train your muscles.
You against gravity in any way, shape, or form you can.
Yep. And,
I agree.
And which of those you choose depends on where you're at, and it depends on what you're trying to do.
True. Yeah.
But if you can and you want to gain muscle and strength as quickly as possible, then weightlifting is where it's at. That's the most effective.
Yeah. That's the secret sauce, really. Yeah.
Totally. And I would say not just weightlifting, but strength training in particular, which means you're going to be lifting heavier weights. You're not going to be
progressive overload.
No Barbie dumbbells, some heavier weights.
No power walking, just around the ball.
Yeah, no sets of 30 that end because you get bored. And so focusing on weightlifting if you can, strength training if you can, and as far as exercises go, focusing, this kind of just comes along with strength training, but I think it's worth saying, focusing the majority of your efforts on getting strong on the compound exercises, getting strong on the primary lifts.
Bench, squat, deadlift,
Yep, and some sort of overhead press would be a good idea as well. And so through that, then what you're doing is you're increasing your whole body strength. And that is the focus. Get stronger over time. And that applies to someone who's 20 as well as someone who's 60. I'm working on the other book that I didn't want to work on 2 books at the same time, but I don't really have a choice because I was in the middle of this Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger book. And then I'm doing a book with Simon & Schuster, which we're on a tight deadline for because we want to get it out next summer. So it is what it is. But the book is specifically going to be for the 40-plus crowd. And that's a point I'm making early on in the book is the key is getting strong. If you can get strong, muscle comes with that, right? You're gonna have a great physique, but then also there are even more benefits to strength when we look at it in the context of aging as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And maintaining
bone density, all those things,
mobility, and I mean there's a correlation between just whole body muscle mass and mortality. Like the more muscle you have, especially as you get older, the less likely you are to die of anything.
All-cause mortality goes down. Absolutely,
Yep. So, and that's also
this just in, fitness does good things for you.
Research shows. And so, but I like that. I like that focus on just getting strong. Again, it gives something that people can always come back to. Am I getting stronger? Are my 1 rep maxes going up on these key lifts? If that's a yes, then you're doing a lot more right than wrong. That's for sure. Yeah. And so, how do you best get strong? Strength training by strength training makes
strong.
If you do it correctly, it gets you stronger. Yeah. And of course, you can mix in some bodybuilding stuff as well, which tends to be a bit higher rep and tends to be a bit more muscle group focused. Yeah. Like I want some more biceps. I'm gonna do some bicep curls.
Aesthetic driven, fun driven.
Totally, and that's fine.
External stuff. Yeah,
that's totally fine. I mean, I personally, that's how I train. That's how I program all my workouts and my books and everything. Is I'd say it's hybrid. It's a lot of strength training and some bodybuilding stuff as well. And And then so if you're focusing, let's say 80% on your strength training, and if you want to do some cardio, keep it to minimum, but more specifically, I think a good rule of thumb is, and I'm assuming that, again, we want to maximize, if you want to maximize your endurance, then you're going to have to do a lot of cardio.
Sure.
But most people, and I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening, they're going in the gym first and foremost because they want to look good, and they like the idea of having some. In guys, it's muscle mass.
Yeah.
Women would think more in terms of muscle definition, muscle tone.
I'm gonna train my toning muscles.
Yeah, I'm gonna sculpt.
I don't want to get bulky. I just want to tone.
Exactly. So assuming that's the goal, then keep your cardio to, I would say, no more than about half the time that you're putting into weightlifting. So if you're
that's a really good rule of thumb. Yeah.
If you're weightlifting 4 to 5 hours a week, do no more than a couple hours of cardio per week. And
easy math on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are a number of reasons for that. What it comes down to, I won't get into off on the tangent, but what it comes down to is there is what's called an interference effect. Basically, the more cardio you do, here's what it comes down to: the more cardio you do, the harder it is it's going to be for you to gain muscle and strength.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Period. So it's great to do cardio. There are some health benefits, particularly cardiovascular benefits, that you can get in addition to what you get from your weightlifting. You'll actually get a lot from your weightlifting. And I do personally do cardio, so I do 1 hour per week. That's what I do.
Okay.
And I do 30 minutes Saturday, where I'm not lifting.
Yeah.
And I'll do,
it's like a little active recovery day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And 30 minutes Sunday. Yeah. That's my cardio, and my resting heart rate is always around 50. And
not bad at all.
I have pretty good cardio from my training, which, when you're training intensely in strength training, there is a cardiovascular element.
Absolutely. You're keeping your heart rate up for extended periods of time.
Totally.
Cardiovascular training.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'd say those are some good like basic fundamentals if you follow that advice. And I understand, like, as far as practicality goes, if we wanted to be as specific as I was with diet, we'd have to dive into more of the specifics of strength training. Yeah. But that's probably beyond the scope of this. And if people, I'll say, if you want to learn more about that specifically, head over to legionathletics.com, search for strength training, and there is a huge article that breaks everything down, gives you a bunch of programs to choose from. I think it's 25,000 words. It's basically a little book. It's free. Yeah. You don't have to,
it's a mini nugget. Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody wants to learn more about strength training in particular, that's a good resource.
Cool, man. Yeah. Phenomenal focus on the fundamentals there. That I could pull that whole thing out and make a whole little, like, mini episode on, like, the fundamentals of, like, getting started in fitness, for damn sure. Yeah. Kind of getting towards the end here. I want to ask you a question. Just anybody that I know that, I have on the show that has been in it for more than a minute. You've gone through, like, your own transformation physically, your own transformation in the business, your own transformation in catering and creating products and services for your audience. I was thinking of asking this question, but I'm going to change it. Instead of where do you see the fitness industry going, I want to ask, where do you want it to go? And where, with your content and with Legion and everything that you're doing and with the voice that you have now, where are you navigating the fitness industry instead of where do you think it will go?
I like that question because that's one of the things that inspired me to get involved in the first place. Actually, in the first place, I didn't want to get into the fitness industry when I first wrote Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, because there's a lot that I don't like about the fitness industry. Stuff like what I talk about in the Instagram post.
There's a lot I don't like.
There's that, right? But then there's also something fundamental that I don't like, and this is more among industry people, and that is the obsession with the body. Yeah. Like, it's actually unhealthy. It's unhealthy to have your sole focus be making your body as pretty as possible. It's just not a healthy lifestyle.
Orthorexia, and all that kind of comes with that.
Yeah, they can lead to that. But I just think fundamentally there are a number of reasons why it's emotionally unhealthy, it's mentally unhealthy. It can be physically healthy, but then because the mind affects the body, it can get to a point where even the baggage that comes with it outweighs whatever physical benefits there are. And I myself, ironically, even though I'm a fitness guy and I have to take shirtless pictures here and there, I'd say that half of the reason of why I'm in the gym would be vanity. That's pretty low, though, for a fitness guy.
Let's be honest. We all got egos. That's not going anywhere.
And we all want to look a certain way.
We all want to look good, sure. Yeah.
And
maybe some more than others.
And that's fine. Yeah. But for me personally, fitness is not my overriding interest. It's not the only thing I think about all the time, and I don't live and die by, if my abs look extra cut today or something. You know what I mean? And so I didn't want to promote that initially, and my initial thought was I would start a publishing business, and I would write my own stuff, but I would also publish other people's stuff and even get into other genres. My original interest in writing was fiction, and that's something.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's something I will come back to. I mean, I just don't want to give it the time right now. I could, but I don't want to because I know what time it would take to do what I want to do.
Get the creative brain going in a totally different way.
Totally.
Kind of go back to what we were saying earlier, not to derail you, but I know a lot of people who, service level, we look at, for motivation and success tips and rituals and habits. I found a lot of people, it's going back to fiction. Sometimes it gets you out of that nonfiction mindset, gets you back to kind of like that child mindset of just creativity, imagination, possibilities. It can be very inspiring in some unique ways for sure.
Totally.
So I hope you come back to it soon, man.
Fiction, I will. It'll probably be in the next few years. I have some steep goals that I want to achieve in what I'm doing, and then I'd be willing to give it the time that it would require. Cool. Yeah. And just to follow up with what you're saying, fiction can also be uniquely persuasive because people drop their critical filters with fiction, whereas with nonfiction, they have all their shields up.
I know this is make-believe, therefore I don't need to accept everything as truth. But I can pull from it what I need.
It's more. I think it's more of the power of good story in that, people they want to. Many people are reading fiction because they want to become someone else for a bit and experience things vicariously that they can't experience in their lives.
True. Yeah.
And so with that there's a natural identification that comes with that. And so you can have a character in a book or in a story explain something, right? And it could be a very ideological position on something, right? And you'll get a lot more acceptance that way than just trying from a let me educate you on something and tell you about this ideology that I think that you should consider. And so if you can write good stories, I think you can be far more persuasive. I mean,
that's so true, man. Yeah.
If you're a master rhetorician, if you're a master at rhetoric,
rhetorician,
and whatever. If you're a master at rhetoric, then you can get there. But there is something unique about storytelling in terms of ability to persuade and get people to think differently.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like that from that perspective as well. But anyway, so back when I was like, I want to go in that direction, not fitness. Started to go in that direction, but then looked at it and said, okay, this is when Bigger, Leaner, Stronger is doing very well. And I was like, there's an opportunity here, and there's an opportunity to do things my way. And that means that I'm not interested in trying to play the gatekeeper game and suck up to the people who have the audiences and pretend like I don't dislike a lot of what they're doing. And that's not everybody. But when I started looking at that's one way to try to get in. And it didn't appeal to me at all.
You got real with your goals, real with your intentions.
Exactly. Yeah. But what did appeal to me is, all right, if I can write more books and I can write articles and I can record podcasts, if I can just bring the information directly to people and let them decide if I'm worth listening to or not, that's interesting to me. And I'll do that. And then the follow-up to that was, that's also cool because if I can have a big enough influence, I can help steer things in a direction that I think is healthier and I think is more beneficial to people. And that's also even why I got into supplements. It wasn't just to make more money. Ironically, if that's all I cared about,
it's another component to the future that you want.
Totally. The shorter route to more money would have just been write more books. That would have been it. I didn't need a supplement company. And like I've told you before, ironically, I've made more money from books than anything else. But where the supplement company eclipses books is more in the long-term potential, especially company valuation and stuff like that. And at this point, Legion, it's going to do probably $25 to $30 million in sales this year. There's a point where it gets to okay, that's actually quite big. But you don't know that getting into it.
Exactly.
So where I would like to see things go is I would like to see the evidence-based movement continue to grow, especially. I like a lot of the people who are really driving it forward. People like, that's why I recruited them to Legion's scientific advisory board. James Krieger, Eric Helms, Greg Knuckles, although he's not on the advisory board because he doesn't really do supplements. He's just open about that. He really likes what I'm doing. He's like, I don't think I could really offer anything though because I don't. He's like, I do training. Cool. So if your people were to ask my opinion on should we add this ingredient to a product, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? But I really like
know what you know and know what you don't know.
Exactly. Sure. Greg, Menno Henselman's, Spencer Nadolski's on my board. So we have really good guys that they have integrity and they are educated and they're into educating other people and they're into promoting a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. We're giving people realistic expectations.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see that become more and more accessible, because back when I wrote Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, it was not accessible. A lot of the information that was out there was very complex.
Right.
And it was written, it was either actually scientific literature, which is often, for example, has too much jargon for a layman to
most people can't understand it or aren't going to invest the time to figure it out.
And I understand. Like, you sit down to try to read a paper on nutrition that is essentially just going to explain the stuff I've explained here in more complicated terms, and you realize that it's going to take 30 hours probably of jumping to Wikipedia and trying to sort through the terminology alone.
You try to get a bachelor's degree just to understand a article.
Exactly. And that was, I think, one of the things that I did well early on was take that and make it easily understood, which is something that I was used to from my previous line of work. Is I had to make things easily understood.
That's so true. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I would like to see more of that. Yeah. And that's why I continue to do the work that I'm doing in the sports nutrition space. Oh, it's such a shit show. I would say I would like to see more companies like Legion, and not just with products, not just actual science-based products, transparent formulations, real scientists doing the formulating, natural, blah, 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 but also I am funding scientific research that has nothing to do with my products. Wow. So I'm funding a study.
That shows the level of support and belief that you have in this future that we're talking about. That's amazing, man.
I put my money where my mouth is, literally. And even to be specific for people who are wondering what kind of research. Yeah. So there's an IF study on body composition, a lean gain style that's being run by Dr. Andy Galpin and Menno Henselman's. So I gave them some money along with Renaissance Periodization, and I gave them protein powder to use for it. A lean bulking study being run by Eric Helms and James Krieger. Wow. And that's to see, does a small surplus. Yeah. To compare a smaller surplus versus a larger surplus and look at muscle and strength gain, because that's a question that could use some research. And I'm funding a creatine and DHT and hair loss study because yes, that's the number one question asked by guys about creatine.
Will using creatine result in hair loss?
If you have male pattern baldness, or you're already losing your hair, or if it runs in your family, because there's a study that was done with rugby players that is flawed, and it shouldn't have caused the amount of uproar and alarm that it has, but it did.
Sounds like most studies I've read.
Yeah, it's all it can, especially in the supplement space. H&B is as good as steroids. Yeah, no. And so what the study suggested is that creatine can raise DHT levels, and that is associated with hair loss, especially in people who have the genetic predisposition.
Interesting.
So what that then caused a lot of guys to stop taking creatine.
You're bored creatine, I'm out. Shit.
Or just be concerned about it.
Yeah,
and especially with guys with male pattern baldness, they really don't like losing the hair, understandably so. Where they go, and I've had this conversation one-to-one with many people via email, mostly over the years, and I have a copy paste where I explain some of the problems with this research, and like you're asking me. I would say you have nothing to worry about, and here are all the reasons why. I've spoken to a guy named Eric Trexler who works with Greg Nuckols, PhD, specialized in supplementation. We discussed it, right? So I've tried to like disseminate the information of don't worry about it.
Right,
is kind of the weight of the expert opinion.
Yeah.
But it's better just to have a study.
Sure.
It's better, and so
it's amazing, man.
Yeah, Grant Tinsley is going to be running it, and it's a long process. It's going to take
time and money studies for sure.
18 months to do it right, but we're doing it right, and we're spending money. I mean, I think it's $35,000-$40,000.
Wow.
And I don't personally gain.
Sure.
We're not even using my products in the study,
which is, I think, even more accolade. It's not going to be skewed or biased really in any way.
Exactly. All anybody could say is, well, Legion funded it.
Yeah.
Okay. What does that mean?
But that's it. Yeah.
And it's not even. It's like Legion funded it, but really Mike funded it. Because all that means is I'm gonna take I'm going to get $40,000 less for my business this year because I'm putting it over there. Basically, is what that means, right? Yeah. And so I'm going to be doing more like that. I'm going to be also doing studies on my products, and I'll be working again with high quality teams on that.
Very
and
cool.
I just think it makes sense again to like, what does it mean to be a science-based supplement company?
Yeah.
And when I started Legion, there weren't many companies that were talking about clinically effective doses, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Or even proprietary blends and why they're bullshit and why if anyone uses a proprietary blend, don't buy their stuff. That's my position then, my position now. But now that people have seen Legion and do well, and there have been now a number of copycats, which is cool. That's fine. That's how free markets work.
Yeah, sure.
But now a lot of people are saying the same things. So Legion has advantages in that it's been around longer, and a lot of people know about me and know about my work. And so when they do come to Legion's page, me saying those words means something else other than like some faceless knockoff company saying those words.
Yeah.
But still, I don't like that there's a lot of noise. And so to get back to a signal, so to speak, there are some things like this, like funding actual research, an actual scientific advisory board. Who makes the formulations? Because what I can tell you is many companies, what they do is they go to a manufacturer and they say, I want a pre-workout. And the manufacturer says, how much are you willing to spend per bottle? And they say, dick, $5.
Yeah.
Because I want to sell it for $50.
You're going to get dick product. Yeah.
And they go, good, perfect.
Yeah.
We have the dick formulation for
We
you.
got a big old batch of dick product in the bag. Let's just throw your label on it. We're
perfect.
Good.
Yeah, we like dick around here. So here you go. And that's actually what happens.
And take your money. All right, sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually what happens though, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm working with a guy named Curtis Frank, for example, who's the co-founder and former lead researcher and writer over at examine.com.
Oh, wow.
Anybody familiar with examine.com, just know that pretty much all of the technical information that you've read on Examine was researched and written by Curtis. He reviewed literally tens of thousands of studies in that project, 7 or 8 year project.
Nerding out hard.
I mean,
he
is a supplement savant.
Yeah.
I will not meet another person in my life that understands supplementation like he does, as well as the other people I've mentioned who Curtis leads the board, so to speak, but they're the sounding board. And sometimes they come at things from different angles too. And so we're going to also be posting, I think, that more transparency is better. So we're going to start posting. I've always sent certificates of analyses to customers, whoever asked for them.
Sure.
Which is, for anybody wondering what that is that's the manufacturer certifying what they put in that product.
What is in it, how much, the sourcing,
and
everything.
And they do their own testing to verify that. And so I'm going to be putting those up on the website for anybody who wants to view, which batch, I want to see the COA, okay, what that
That's
tells
huge,
you.
man. Props to you guys,
What that tells you is, you're getting what you're paying for, right? And then
nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly. In addition to that, I've also started working with LabDoor to do third-party testing. So we're already rolling that out with a number of our products, just for extra verification. Because I'm a very cynical person and skeptical person. I really am. And so I'm being me, the cynical, skeptical consumer, and I'm like, yeah, COAs are nice, and I work with a couple of the biggest manufacturers in the country, so it wouldn't be in their interest to fudge COAs. But if I didn't know that as a consumer, I'd say, well, what if the manufacturer's lying on their COA? Because that happens. Good question. Skeptical consumer. I like where you're going with that, and that's why I'm working also with LabDoor. So that's additional third-party testing of finished product, right? I get no say. They buy they actually just buy the product off of Amazon, so they just get one out of because where third-party testing can be scammed for anybody just wondering.
Like we're going to test a specific batch of a specific thing.
Well,
like,
no,
do you have more control
I
over?
get to send the product.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
I choose which one you're going to look at.
So what companies will do is, they will have, they don't even get product runs. They don't even get production runs done. These are sample runs, right? So what they'll do is they'll get a sample of a good formulation. Their manufacturer just whips that up in their lab, sends it over. They send that for testing. Oh, it tests great. But that's not what they're running.
But then
that's not what they're
formula.
running.
Yeah. What actually you get. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're doing that. Also, what we're rolling out this year, which I'm excited about, is we are starting to use 100% recycled plastic.
Very cool. Okay.
Which I believe in. I believe in doing everything we can to reduce the amount of pollution and waste in the environment. So that makes sense to me. I'm looking at doing, I don't know how many people will take me up on it, but I like the idea of doing refill bags.
Really?
Yeah. So what I like is, okay, you can buy a recycled plastic container, right? And you can throw it away. You can recycle it yourself and buy another one. Or if you want, you can keep your whey protein tub.
Keep the tub.
And then you can buy a bag, which is more environmentally friendly. And you just dump.
Why hasn't this been done already? That seems so.
I don't know, man.
That's a great idea, man. Absolutely, yeah.
So
you're gonna make all of us in LA happy.
Exactly. It'll get knocked off. It'll get knocked off. But this stuff is rolling out in the next couple months, so I don't mind talking about it. It's not 2 years from now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then I'm also going to be partnering with a charity that works to clean up plastic waste as well, and I'm going to be giving a percentage of profits to the charity.
Very cool, man.
And so I do quarterly charity weeks as it is. Already do that, and I choose different charities, usually stuff with veterans or kids.
Cool.
And
I love that, man. I'm former Army, so yeah.
And I'll continue doing that, but I want a permanent kind of partnership where I just give a percentage of profits. We haven't chosen the final yet, but I like the idea of, because there's just so much plastic in the ocean, and there's some good charities doing work
huge
there
right now,
to clean that up.
I had no idea it was such a problem.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. And so those are just some of the things that we have coming this year. And again, just kind of, I want to raise the bar of what it means to be a science-based.
I love it, man.
And to be a company that gives a shit, that where the
cares more about the bottom line.
And there's that
whole
that
process, the end consumer, the future that we're building, all things you're talking about.
And the world we live in, the society we live in, and not only caring about profits. Like yes, profits are important, but the famous economist Ken Galbraith, Galbraith, he has a quip where he's saying that the corporate goal traditionally is just to engulf everything. I think it's a good way of putting it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't personally believe in that. I believe in being a profitable company. I believe in doing well financially, but I also believe in doing the right thing. And so my hope is with Legion, because it's now getting to be one of the bigger players in the sports nutrition space. I'd say once we break 50 million a year, we're maybe top 10 or so.
Yeah, man,
maybe top
huge,
20.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but we're getting up there. There aren't very many sports nutrition companies that are even above 20, right? And so that I can leverage that brand awareness to also encourage other supplement companies to do the same thing, even if it's
like call them out in a positive way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And instead of just criticizing, which I'm fine, I'll criticize, but I'm also setting an example.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I'm doing something about it too.
Yeah.
And my hope,
and making room at the table. Like look, here's the standard that I'm setting. And here's the standard I think we should all be setting.
Yes.
But also
join me, competitors.
Do it exactly.
Do what I'm doing, even if it's just for cynical marketing reasons. Even if you don't care about the environment, for whatever reason is you could give a shit.
We're all getting to the great same end result.
Exactly.
Which is the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with funding good research. I hope that more supplement companies will follow my lead on that and make money available to good guys and gals out there who will do good research to benefit the body composition space and give back to the space that we've benefited so much from. I've benefited so much from the research that all these people have done. Without their research, I wouldn't have been able to even write my books, let alone create the supplement.
It's never just us. It's never just us. So absolutely.
So that's my long-winded answer on where I hope the industry goes.
Well, I hope it happens. No doubt you're going to make huge things happen. Just in kind of understanding the history of you and the company, what's been going on in the past 5-6 years ish.
Year 6 or 7.
Just to see from then to now and hearing what the future is that you're building, like it's just a matter of time, no doubt, man.
Thanks, brother.
Well, I have one final question to ask everybody, and so our message here at Everforward, I really resonate with what you're just talking about, and it's this building this future for ourselves, but bringing along others along the way and learning things and absorbing things. We kind of have 3 main components: fitness, nutrition, mindset, and then it's passing that information, that knowledge back, and setting the standard so that, like we said, hey, come join us. But it never really kind of stops. It's this human optimization process, the things that we say help us live a life ever forward. What does that mean to you? How would you say that Mike Matthews lives a life ever forward?
Well, I mean, I totally agree with it fundamentally. I'm very much interested in improving myself in as many ways as possible, and I live that through my actions. I believe in not just saying that, but actually like having a system for it. And I also am very much interested in what works first and foremost. I try not to. dismiss anything out of hand, even weird shit. Like when I first heard about flat Earth, and I was like, okay. And where I had to dismiss it though is so I go to look into it. I'm like, okay, I'm skeptical, but what's the argument here? And then so when the position was though that all footage of the Earth being
like it's all bullshit.
Is all, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm sorry. Like,
trust but verify.
Yeah, exactly. I'm out on that. But I try to maintain a very open mind and be willing to try things that if it makes any sense at all. Coming back to your N1 kind of concept, and being very willing to do things and not be afraid of exerting effort, which I think is a fundamental. That's a non-negotiable. If we're talking about ever forward and in any area of life, to move ahead, it requires effort.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to define the word effort. I think everybody knows what effort is, whether it's physical effort, whether it is mental effort in work, right? A lot of mental effort, a lot of obstacles to overcome, emotional effort in relationships.
Like the theme of everything we've been talking about, it's a fundamental truth. It's a fundamental aspect of achieving what you want to achieve.
Yep. And so for me, I've really tried to cultivate a love for effort for its own sake, and
I like that.
To not be concerned with the results. And this is nothing new. I'm not the first person to say this. This concept has been around for a long time.
Process over the prize.
Totally. Yeah. But specifically the effort part of the process, because when people say it's the process, not the result. Well, what do you mean exactly? Because there's a lot that goes into the process.
Sure.
Like, are you talking about mechanically? You're talking about the system, which I agree with as well. I think there's a lot to be said. I recorded a whole podcast on a book I read called Thinking in Systems, and shared some of my thoughts on how I use this information in my life and my business. I'm very big on system building, and I think it's very important. But without the willingness to exert effort, no system matters. It doesn't matter.
It's pointless.
Because it just takes progressively more and more effort as well to keep on if you want to keep growing. And it comes back to what we were talking about in the gym. In the book that I'm finishing, this intermediate and advanced, one of the chapters, the title is The More for Less Method. And
that's going to be
more to it. But that's me being honest. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, you're an intermediate or advanced weightlifter, you're going to work a lot harder now, like literally twice as hard as you worked when you're a newbie for way less progress and results, to the point where it becomes so vanishingly small, you're basically getting nothing out of your
also known as
regard.
Training after 30.
I mean, I would agree to a point
to an extent,
to a point. But there's something to be said for that in life. You know, there's it doesn't get easier, you have to get better, and the thing with some of these cliches, though, is it's true. It is true. And so to answer your question specifically, I guess that's something that I am always focused on.
Sure.
Is, am I truly putting in the work? Am I exerting enough effort here? Is my estimation of the amount of effort it's going to take right? Or am I shortcutting myself? Am I going into it like, let's say I envision a project, something I'm going into. What is it and what's the end result? What do I like to get out of it? Take this Simon & Schuster book. I want it to be a #1 New York Times bestselling book.
It will.
And I mean, I'm putting in the work. I can tell you that.
I'll get enough copies to help boost it. We'll see.
I'll be calling you. I'll take you up on that. And so anyways, I have this vision, and then working it backward of there's the system of how I get there, but then there's just the sheer effort and how much time kind of is wrapped up in that, and how much effort is it going to take. And here's I think a semi-practical takeaway, something I've learned myself. And as someone who does not have an aversion to working hard, I really don't. I don't think about, this is going to be a lot of work, and then feel demotivated. Not at all, right? So even that being so, when I sit down to try to figure out what's this going to take in terms of time, energy, I do my best to make a conservative estimate, and then I double it.
Wow.
And then I think, am I still okay with that? Does that make sense? And if it does, then I'm in.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of in the Star Wars Archives book. It's a Taschen is the company. They make those big, super nice coffee table books.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there's one.
It's
an Archives, which is all the production stuff. And I like. It's funny. I don't I like the Star Wars universe, and I like the original movies, and I don't really like much of anything else, but I like the creativity in particular that went into it.
Sure, yeah.
And so there's a quote from Lucas in there, and he was talking about the attention to detail, right, and how he paid attention to every little detail, and he learned something from a Japanese filmmaker who is a big fan of Kurosawa or something like that. And Kurosawa, I believe I'm getting that name right, he was talking about this and how even if people don't notice these little things, the sum of those parts is it has a certain effect on people in terms of suspending their disbelief and buying into this story and feeling like it's something, again, where I was saying earlier, where they see themselves in the story and they're now kind of engrossed in this whole world.
The sum is only because of all of those details compounding to create what we're buying into.
Yep. And where that total effect is greater than you would think from just looking at all these little parts. Yeah. And that's something that Lucas took to heart, and what it came down to then was a shitload of work. I mean, like paying attention to every little, scar on the metal ships and every like all the grime.
I'm sure like square inch by square inch instead of just like the whole screen. It's just like
designing
by pixel
everything.
By pixel. Yeah.
And he said he knew that most people wouldn't notice any of those little individual. They're not going to go, did you see the little, black mark on the
scratch wasn't rusted enough to match the timeline of this ship,
that's where he was paid attention. He'd be like, I need to make sure that you know what I mean? And so that's I think a good example of what that comes down to, again, is work, like effort. There's no shortcut to that, scene by scene, prop by prop, character by character, pushing it to the extreme of where I'm sure he probably just ran out of ideas. I've done everything I can to make this one scene as believable as possible, as opposed to a more just phone it in kind of approach. And if he wouldn't have done that, Star Wars would have not become what it became.
I believe it. Yeah.
And so I try to take that approach in my own work. I try to take that approach as much as I can. I mean, no one's perfect, so I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to pretend like I am, but I strive toward that in every area of my life. I always am looking at, how can I go deeper on this? How can I do the things that other people do not want to do? How can I do the work that other people are avoiding? Yeah. And it's worked well for me, and it's a philosophy I believe in. That's
amazing, man. Definitely resonates well with my mantra and the message and the community here at Everforward. I appreciate that. It reminds me of, I'm a huge Jocko Willink fan. Okay. Anybody doing cool things in the military space. And I was at a live event of his a couple weeks ago. Nice. And he said this phrase, and at first I was just like, no, that's dumb. But then I actually got what he was saying. I was having a brain fart. He said that shortcuts are the longest distance between where you are and where you want to be. And that actually has been like a theme of mine. It just kind of has been coming up in conversation, and just I'm getting kind of critical again, not in like a negative way, of just where I am in life, on the podcast, my content, of my gym relationship, of my marriage, a lot of different things. And it's just like, like with fitness, like with a lot of things, you have these newbie gains in everything you do. You just see the needle move so much quicker when you go from nothing to something. And then, life changes, you have a new adaptation level, you just reach a different baseline, and it's just, where am I not exerting that effort? Where am I putting a shortcut? Where do I have shortcuts in my life that maybe I don't even realize? They just become these small little things that have become a habit that are they're not getting me to this future that I want to build. So it's a great reminder, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that reminds me of just I know we got to wrap up, but I'm gonna. Oh, it's good, man. It's good. I'll keep going. That, there's a Henry Miller quote that you'd like. I don't, maybe it inspired that, but he was a writer, I believe American, might have been French, and I'm going to paraphrase, where he basically says that the hardest way to do something is in the end the shortest way, or the easiest way. Basically, it's the other side of that coin, saying that what we were just talking about, doing the hard work, doing the work that nobody else wants to do, putting in the time, the attention to detail, and estimating the amount of effort and accepting that, and not trying to shortcut it. That's the easiest way to get to anywhere worth fucking getting to. And trying to shortcut and trying to get around it and figuring out, how can I work smart, not hard, and
That's another discussion. There is something to be said for, you need to have the right ideas, but a lot of that kind of mentality is actually trying to get out of the work and trying to find shortcuts.
Yeah.
That is the hardest way in the end to get results, because a lot of it's not going to work, and you're going to spin your wheels, and you're going to have to
learn less.
You're going to have to redo things, and you'll learn less in the way of lessons, and so I totally agree with that concept.
Huge, man. Well, Mike, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you making time for me on a Sunday here.
Yep.
Great way to end.
Thank you.
Great way to end my trip. Yeah.